Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye, bye. We don't mind a few bad habits. It's all good. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back to the Collective Clips. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate all the support. Thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you. I'm very humbled. So I had to do like a Mozzie song and double back. I had to double back on the Caesar Hernandez story because it's getting very tricky and very interesting. Okay, so we all know by now he escaped from Delano prison, a prison in Delano, okay, makes it all the way to Tijuana, gets involved in whatever he got involved with, and ultimately ends up in a gunfight with the gringo hunters, right? And a specific woman who was in a leadership position. She was the commander, okay? That means she ran that crew, and her sole purpose was to eradicate or eliminate and arrest any fugitive from the United States that found themselves in Mexico, next to the Pacific, to be specific, in TJ. And that woman had an agenda. Her agenda was she was not playing with any Americans trying to go into Mexico and set up shop or establish something or get away from the crimes that they were running from. Now, Caesar Hernandez did just that. He decided maybe he had, I don't know, some contacts there in Tijuana. Maybe he was involved with cartel. Maybe it was just a safe haven for him to go to get away from, being an escaped prisoner. Whatever the case may be, she tracked him down with the help of the United States authorities. There was a lot of different organizations and groups involved, and they went to apprehend him. In the midst of doing that, she was killed in a gunfight, and the blame was automatically placed on Caesar Hernandez. Now, at first thought and at first glance, I remember when this happened, I had a conversation with Dubs. Dubs is a very intelligent individual. He thinks about every different angle, right? And so I remember him telling me that he didn't think Caesar Hernandez was the one who pulled the trigger that ultimately killed, the woman. In fact, he told me that he thought it could have been friendly fire or an inside plot to get rid of someone who was really a good guy. You see, there's good guys and there's bad guys in this world. And there's bad guys that are disguised as good guys. And there's good guys that are disguised as bad guys, right? And at the end of the day, that was a perfect situation to eliminate someone who was a hindrance to the department or what they had going on and to the bad guys. Now, for those of you that have never been to Mexico, let me give you some gang. Little homie, let me give you some gang, right? Like a J. Diggs song. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Mexico a few times, and I've actually been to Mexico while on the run. I was in Juarez. Now, Juarez is a lot different from TJ. Tijuana, to me, is a little bit more Americanized from what I hear. I've never been there, but from what I hear, there's a lot of tourists because it's close to the San Diego border, close to that area. People just go back and forth from California like it ain't no thing. Now, in Juarez, it's on the El Paso, Texas frontera. And there's a little bit of a different vibe. Especially right when you cross over the border, it's cartel heavy. It's ran by the organization. It's definitely between the Barrio Aztecas and the cartel. You don't know what the fuck you're going to get that day, besides probably your head chopped off. It's really goes down over there. So I'm not going to say it was any worse than what Caesar Hernandez was experiencing. I couldn't even fathom being put in that position to be on a run for a murder case. The whole world's looking for me. I'm all over the news. I made national news. And it must have been hard. It was hard enough for me on the run. So I can only compare it to what I know. But he found himself in a position where the authorities found out his location. Whoever told, if they just looked, if they just knew. But this woman was pretty good at her damn job. And her job, like I said, was bringing in fugitives left and right. And she had a long track record and a history for doing that. And being the leader of the group called the Gringo Hunters, and there's no disrespect to the white man, brother, to all the woods, But that's just what they consider Americans. In Mexico, gringos are not considered white. They're considered Americans, okay? They consider people even of Mexican ethnicity that have their bloodline that goes all the way back to Mexico. But if you are in America, then you are considered the gringo, right? And when they pulled up on Cesar Hernandez, like I said, the gunfight ensued, and he did have a weapon on him. In fact, when he was arrested ultimately with a weapon on him. So that day, when they went in to get him, it made me wonder, just like Dub said, why would she be on the forefront? Why would she, being the commander, being the sergeant, being the whatever she was, the leadership position, be the first one in? Now, I understand the excitement of wanting to have the clout or the fame of being the one that busted this guy because it's a big deal. But at the same time, if you're working with a whole bunch of law enforcement, different agencies, why was she the only one out of all these different officers that ultimately died? Looked like an inside job to me, right? Looked like maybe quite possibly some of the tricky guys that are in the department that are actually don't want to apprehend or bust people, that are actually living within the criminal element, maybe have decided that, you know, it was time for her to go. And this was the perfect opportunity, not only to place blame on an American, but to also place blame on someone that nobody would bat an eye at. They'd be like, okay. And at first, when it was announced, everyone was like, wow, he's really out there getting it, man. He's killing cops. He's killing Mexican police officers. Man, that's real bad. And it's bad for him because he's locked up in a Mexican prison as we speak, or in a jail waiting for a sentence to be confirmed. And then he'll be going to Mexican prisons. But you have to look at it from a different scope. Recently, Cesar Hernandez put out a statement. He wrote a letter that was put out by his lawyer, his attorney. So obviously he's been granted an attorney, right? And in that letter, he's expressing that the bullets that were fired from his gun are not the same bullets that killed that officer, that he actually had nothing to do with it. And he swears up and down that he did not kill her. Now, it's very questionable. And like I said, just somebody that knows reason and has reasoning and gives everyone their due process, no matter what people think, you know, there's a possibility that maybe he didn't. Does it change anything or the situation is in? No. Let me explain to you why. He could put out all the statements he wants through his lawyer. He could fight the case all he wants, but he's in a different country. And in Mexico, if they've already said, that's what you did, well, homie, that's what you did. Now, there's been a lot of people asking, is he going to get shipped back to the United States to continue to finish his time and do his time? The question is going to be easily answered. Absolutely not. Mexico is holding him. He's going to have to go to trial and get due process on the murder of that officer, which, of course, they're placing blame on him, whether he did it or not. He's claiming innocence. Of course, he's claiming innocence. He wants to come back to the United States all of a sudden now, right? And do his time, do his little 80-year life term. He had action at that. He was doing it right there at Kern Valley. He was smooth in his moves, right? He was doing his time in the United States, had nothing to do with Mexico, and decided, hey, and who wouldn't, man, when you're facing life, take an opportunity to get on down the road. But he went to the wrong place and allegedly committed the worst crime. Now, he was picked up the other day, and it was breaking news. Me and Dubs broke it right here on YouTube. Midnight. He got picked up about 10 in the evening. And there's a lot of people saying that's not him that was picked up in the pictures. That's not him on the video entering the county jail. I'm here to tell you that was him. I'm fucking blind in one eye, but not both. Okay, I could see just like you can see. And that definitely was him. Yes, he looked a little bit different. He grew his hair out. Yes, he's been in the sun a little bit. He got a tan. And yes, man, he wasn't all cleaned up like he was in his prison photos. But it was definitely him. He walked the same. He looked the same. He acted the same. And he definitely looked like he was a deer in headlights. He didn't understand what was going on, but we understand what's going on. And he does. He just looked that way. The fact is, he's in Mexico now, a different country, different laws, different rules. And they're going to place blame on you. And there's nothing you can really do about it because it's not going to change the fact that he's doing all day, every day in prison, whether it be in the United States or in Mexico. Cesar Hernandez is done. Now, do I honestly believe that he killed that officer? I'm starting to think in the negative. You know, having been in Mexico, and let me tell you guys a little story, and it's kind of relevant. It is actually relevant. You know, I was on the run at the time for an assault. I had went into a bar. I seen a dropout gang member. I was active at the time. Me and my homeboys identified him as a high priority dropout. We had targets. We had people that were like, hey, if you see them, get off on them. Doesn't mean necessarily you had to kill them. You had freedom of choice. Do what you want to do, but you get off where you're mad at. If it was said later on that you were at that spot and he was at that spot, and believe me, motherfuckers like to talk, right? There's a lot of people that like to talk. Most of the time it's your own homeboys. They'll play that role with you. Yeah, homie. Nah, let's not do it, man. We got our old ladies or our kids or whatever. And then later on, oh, that fool, he had him in his sights. He didn't do nothing. They try to place pawn off blame, right? And just being an active gang member and being part of that life, man, if you see the opposition or you see someone that you know is a target or you're supposed to get off on, then you do that. And that just is what it is. So I did that, okay? And I've done time for it. So before you fucking trolls want to go tell on me for a crime, I already did prison time for it. Seen a fucking dude. He was a Northern Rider. He was a dropout gang member. I was active. It was my duty to get off, and I did that. So now I'm on the run. I'm in Mexico. And my homeboy, who was my crimey at the time, he ended up beating the case. I took the blame. I went to jail. So be it, right? Him, his primo, and his brother were all there. Now, his primo and his brother at the time are on the run for an attempted murder. Ultimately, they beat that case. And then me and him, like I said, I'm the only one that fucking did time out of this. Ain't that crazy? Oh, scary ass runner gunner who never puts in no work, who never comes out the house, just happens to be in Mexico with 3 other dudes from his barrio. And out of everybody, I'm the one that ends up going to prison. Who would have thunk that, huh? Now, on we go. So anyways, we're on the run. So we already know, and it's nothing like Caesar Hernandez. They didn't have Dog the Bounty Hunter looking for us. They said they were going to send him, but send him. I gave him the Tiger uppercut. I'd have gave him the Tiger King uppercut. It'd have been all bad. But anyways, so we're on the run. But I'm still not really being in tune with Mexico and how it was. My Spanish is not immaculate. My knowing of the area was not immaculate, even though my grandfather was his area. And I've been there when I was a kid. I just didn't know what was going on, right? Luckily, I had my homeboy to interpret some shit. Anyways, we end up getting pulled over. We're in a van with some paisa, his chick. He has a case of beer. He's slamming them. We get pulled over, and immediately I'm thinking we're going to fucking Mexican jail. I'm going to get killed there. Okay? I have all these norteño tattoos all over me. I'm super flamed up, gang related. I have a fucking I don't give a fuck attitude, even though I did. You got to play that you don't. And so it was all bad, right? And these cops pull us over, and the first thing they say is, armas, drogas, do you got guns or drugs in the car? Which I did. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not driving, right? They talk to the guy who's driving the paisa. He's faded. He's 17, 18 beers in. He don't give a shit. So my homeboy asked the cop if he can get off and have a conversation. They do. He cashes him out 70 bolas. And we bounce, right? Didn't matter if we were on the run. Didn't matter what we did. Money talks, and that's how it was in Mexico. That enlightened me and opened my eyes. See, I had heard stories before, how crooked the officers were there, how you could pay them off and get away with certain things. And until that moment, until I actually lived it and seen it with my own eyes, did I understand, hey, this is the way it fucking really is. This is how it is in Mexico. So there's a lot of trickery and a lot of fucking shit going on behind the scenes. So it's not out of the fucking realm that this woman was actually murdered by her own. And they took an opportunity to get rid of her because she was what you consider a hero or a good person. She was doing it for the right reasons. Or there could be another angle where maybe she was the bad one. Maybe she was crooked. Maybe she was doing a little bit too much. And they felt like, hey, this is our time to shine. Now, Caesar Hernandez is the perfect scapegoat because being that there was a firefight, being that he did discharge his weapon and they could tell, they're automatically going to link him to that murder. He's the only guy they're shooting at. He's the only guy shooting back, and an officer gets downed. Well, who you think did it? No one in a million years are going to blame the other officers involved, especially because there were United States officers also involved. But what a lot of people don't know is, yes, they might have had feet on the ground, but they couldn't have weapons and they couldn't be involved in that special force that went in. And the reason being is that's another country. There's different laws and different rules that apply to other countries coming in and participating. The most they could participate with is feet on the ground, documentation, paperwork, things like that. But as far as the actual event of going in and apprehending Caesar, they were not involved. Okay. So anything could have happened. It was a perfect chance to make something happen. Now, Caesar is claiming innocence. And is it going to change anything? Chale. Nothing at all. Nope. Chale means no for the white people in here. Nothing. he's going to still stay in a Mexican prison, and he's ultimately going to be convicted for the murder of that cop. They already have placed blame on him. It's already all over the news. I don't care if the ballistics don't match up. See, I don't care what his lawyer says. It's not like California or the United States where you get due process and you get DNA evidence and you get that. This is a different country. This is a country where it's kind of crooked, right? There's no V8 there. So that means all that other shit, all them writing letters, all them having statements through your lawyer, I understand and I feel bad for Cesar, and I don't wish any worse than he's going through upon him, you know. But the fact is, man, he made an ultimate mistake. There was a flaw in his run, and it's the flaw that a lot of Chicanos and Mexicanos that are from the United States make. And that's constantly thinking that you could go into Mexico and blend in and get away. First of all, they don't like you over there. They don't like me over there. The citizens and the people that are there don't want you coming into their country with your bullshit, your gang-related fucking attitudes, your fucking arrogance, and thinking that you're going to go into Mexico and hide out and they're going to protect and help you. It's the same thing in the United States. If there's a paisa, a Mexicano, a Mexican national, however you want to term it, that goes over there and commits a crime and comes into the United States, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want him around because he's a dangerous individual. And why are they going to look out for someone? They're going to say the same old shit. You ain't from our country. Okay. Unfortunately, they're human beings. Everyone's human beings. We're all human beings. But the love for a human being, man, is far and few between. Motherfuckers don't like it. That's just a straight up facts. Knowledge you can't get in college. People treat people from other cities, states, countries like shit. It happens in California with the North and South thing. If you're from Northern California, you're not going to get a whole lot of love down south. If you're from Southern California, you're not going to get a whole lot of love up north. You might get love from certain individuals that got respect for you and don't play that shit. But on the large scale, there's going to be some type of bias. And that's whether you're gang related or not. Because there's a lot of people in Northern California that don't like people from LA just because they don't like people from LA. They figure people from LA are a little bit arrogant and think they control everything. Whereas there's people from Southern California that don't care from vatos from Frisco because they think they're off some Jews. It's crazy, right? But that's just the facts and the way it is. Caesar Hernandez is not going to get out on a technicality. And do I ultimately, my opinion only, think that he did that? I don't believe he did. Now that I'm looking at the evidence and the reports and what I'm seeing, I believe this was an opportunist that took an opportunity to get rid of this woman. And unfortunately, it came from her side. Again, unless you know the inner workings and the details to what she was actually involved in, we'll never know. But Caesar Hernandez is going to know a whole lot of pain. There's not going to be no discrepancy there when they're fucking handing out punishment. And I will tell you this, another true story and some facts. And this happens in the United States all the time, if you get locked up for assaulting an officer, injuring one, let alone killing one, right? It's bad. That stays in your C file. Every prison you go to, every county jail, every liquor store, every telephone pole, wherever the fuck you go, you're going to find a fucking police officer and his flying baton. And they're going to stick it all the way up your fucking ass like a Wes Watson video. They're not playing. They're going to beat on you. So I can only imagine Mexico and how much fame this woman had, because she was actually a famous individual as far as within law enforcement. So there's going to be a lot of lawmen, a lot of officers that weren't involved if this was a crooked situation that feel some type of way, because you had an American come in and do something to one of theirs. How would you feel if you were in that situation? So, man, for the people saying that he's innocent, I believe he probably is. They're saying that the bullets do not match with the gun he was caught with. But again, how do we know that that was the exact gun he was caught with and he didn't throw the gun and get another one? You see, there's just certain things. I know that when he was running down the street, this is a fact. If you watch the video up close, and I've enhanced it as much as I can, trying to clear it up with CapCut and do all that bullshit, right? He was running down the street in boxers, no t-shirt, no gun. Jumps into a car, comes out with the construction suit, the yellow suit or whatever it was, and gets on down the road, disappears into the wind, right? He had no piece on him, no gun. So unless he doubled back and went and got that firearm that he utilized, or they're saying he utilized in this shooting, I don't think so. So of course, the gun that he's caught with now, somehow, some way, man, he came across another gun that he was actually arrested. When they finally caught him, he surrendered. He had a gun. And they're saying this doesn't match the one he did the show. Well, of course it doesn't. It was a different fucking gun. So there could be a chance where, yes, Caesar is guilty. I'm not here to prove anyone's innocent or guilt. At the end of the day, it's not my job. I'm not a cop. I'm not a rat, right? But I will say there's a lot of trickery going on, man. And according to him, and of course he's going to say he's innocent. And it's just like if I shoot someone in the face tomorrow, when I go to court, I'm going to plead innocent, even though they got me on camera and I'm guilty than a motherfucker, right? You always say you're innocent and you fight the good fight, and then ultimately it ends up how it ends up. Anyways, that's some more breaking news on Cesar Hernandez, some of the latest. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think he did it, or do you think it was the perfect opportunity for law enforcement, some crooked people in Mexico, to do it and blame it on someone else? I don't know. I guess we'll never know. One thing I know is he's going to be locked up forever. That's facts.